morning, everyone. We are here for the Sunday Mindset session. It is all about what we think about and how we actually dwell on things. I'm Luke Moroney, and I've got the great man, Tony Meredith.
Hello.
With us today. So hopefully everyone's having a great Sunday wherever they are, whatever they're doing right now. We've got a couple of fans already come on. David and Greg, straight on the mark. Some avid watchers of our videos on a Sunday morning. So maybe they're tucked up in bed already. I want to know if you're in bed or you're actually out of bed and you've already been up and around. I've done my 7Ks, 31 minutes. Pretty good time this morning.
That's a good time. It's a good time.
Really pumped it up. Morning, says Greg. Morning, says David. Sean's also come on as well. Fantastic. Are you guys in bed or are you out of bed? Love to hear what you're thinking. Tony, are they in bed with Luke and Tony?
Well, what was one of the names of the program, right? So along the way, so for those who don't know, while Sunday Mindset Session is our more politically correct name, at one stage we did want to call it In Bed with Luke and Tony. However,
whose idea was that, Tony? By the way,
mine.
Yep. Okay.
And so, however, Mark Naven, if you're watching. Mark decided to put the brakes on that particular name and suggested that it may be a little bit too controversial, which is fine. So we've settled on Sunday Mindset Session. But anyway, if you are in bed, half your luck. I'm out and about in the park. There's a bit of a wind around in Brisbane at the moment, so it's a little bit cold where I am. That's okay.
You know, we like a little bit of risk, eh? It's, you know, you got to mix things up. You know, maybe Mark's a little bit conservative. Willie and we're getting the waves, and Sean reckons he woke up at 6:30. Greg started work at 4 a.m.
Wow, good on you, Greg.
Massive effort on a Sunday morning. Vinay, good to have you on as well. We're talking a little bit mindset session, and I'm going to pop in straight into the whole idea and the topic that we want to discuss today. It's about how do you handle the trolls and the doubters. Mm-hmm. Now, it was an interesting one for me, and I actually heard a Instagram post on someone else who is kind of a coach of sorts in various areas for business and life coach. Sure. And it was actually I mentioned that she said, Tony, that she had her first troll. And I said to her, well, why is it taking you so long?
Yeah, that's it. You've got to harden up, right? You've got to have that experience early on, and then you get it out of the system. So mate, we're going to go.
What? I think what it actually happens, if you look at some of the greats out there, Tony V, Gary Robbins, and whatever. Yeah. I think as you grow, it's going to be a given that you're going to get trolls. There's got to be a level of haters and doubters that are out there, Tony. And I think that comes into anyone who's successful. It's that tall poppy syndrome. Type of things. And I've been watching the Michael Jordan Netflix series that's on at the moment. And what he went through, geez, like all the success, but people want to bring him down. That's for sure.
Well, you touched on it. It's a tall poppy syndrome. Australians are famous for it. And you're right. You can't have a whole lot of positive fans or supporters without those who don't agree with you. And that's the case in anywhere. In life, look at the political side, right? You can rest assured that if the Libs come up with something, then 50% of the population will agree, and 50% of the population won't agree. And that's not just in Australia. The same we're seeing in the US and so on and so forth. So it's everywhere that you're going to get people who try to bring you down. And I'm sure we're going to go into why it is throughout the next hour or so. But it's the reality of this, and this is one of the reasons that people don't start, Luke, or fail to progress, is because the single biggest fear that we all have as humans is the fear of being criticized by other people. That is it. Like in my mind, there is no greater fear. And so you can have fear of failure and all sorts of other fears, but the single biggest one is that fear of being criticized by other people. And I'll take people through why that's the case over the next little bit.
Yeah, I know. And I guess it comes from a point where we're spending more time on the people that are trolls and the doubters and the haters, rather than we're spending on all the people that are actually, so impressed and inspired and motivated by what we have to say and our do and all these actions that come through. Lou, Brian, Robert, good to see you one. Mum's also joined us. Sean says, shout out to Search Party Property. Search Party Property is where it is at. And Keith says, good morning, and it's Sunday. Woke up at 5:30 a.m. So power to you. A lot of early wakers.
Fantastic. Great. Well done.
Probably not many people that are like in bed with Luke and Tony.
Well, they can be, right? Maybe they've been up, they've done stuff, they now want to hop in bed, maybe under a doona, maybe under the doona, maybe under a blanket with Luke and Tony. Nonetheless, so you're here. Thank you. We appreciate you giving up your Sunday morning, whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah, it's it's very interesting about the whole thing about trolls and haters that come on, and the amount of time we actually spend and focus on them, and rather than all the people that are saying really good things and inspired and actually coming in, likes, comments, and that we're sharing around. So it is a big one that we do need to watch out for. The first point I'd like to bring up is, do you listen to them and do you dwell on their words, Tony?
Look, sometimes, and the people are providing constructive feedback. So you're not always going to get it right. And sometimes there are people who say something, you go, you know what, maybe you've got a point, right? So I'm not suggesting that you disregard every single view that's not the same of yours, but people who are just out there trying to chop you off at the knees, then that's very difficult. I remember the first time that I had some trolls. It was very difficult for me. You've got to constantly work your way through it. You're out there. You've got a good intent. You're going, why would someone want to say that? My intent is pure. I'm out here trying to do the right thing. But then you've got to realise that not everyone's going to agree with the way that you do things. And after a while, when you get a few of these, then you start to become more resilient to it.
David says it's okay to handle their criticism with a good, hard debate. If I feel they are too unreasonable, that I'd rather, if I feel that they're too unreasonable, I'd rather ignore them. What would you say?
So if you want to debate it, if you feel it's debate worthy, that's entirely up to you. I don't debate it, to be honest. I mean, I go, okay, that's interesting, and I'll either go, yep, okay, that's a good feedback, or alternatively, no, that's a lot of crap, and that person's a dickhead, and I'll just move on. So I got more important things to be doing than trying to debate each and every one of those. You touched on before around the amount of energy and effort that's being spent on the trolls, and it goes back to a saying a long time ago, a management saying, which is the squeakiest wheel gets all the oil, right? And it's not the way to manage people. But you think back to, when I was coming through the ranks a long time ago now, and it was always around managers would spend the time on the person who was doing the wrong thing and ignore the people who were doing the right thing. So they're focusing on the minority at the expense of the majority. And then what's happened with management theory over time is that we've realized that we want to spend our time on the people who are doing the right thing. So that then applies into this scenario, Luke, where you've got all these wonderful people who are supporting you, who are out there commentating for you, who are out there, sharing your posts and liking and whatnot. Why not spend our time on that? And here's the other thing. When you spend your time on those people, they then, those followers, then become supporters for you, and you know that you have the true following when they start to chime in and tell the haters to back it up. So
I've seen a little bit of that recently, actually. It's been really interesting for me going through some of this journey about trolls and doubters and haters and things like that.
Sure.
And you might get one that comes through, but then you've all of a sudden get, 5 people that back you up. And it's super interesting that was like, well, I've never known Luke to be like that. Or, you're missing something there, mate, that, very different to what you're coming out with. In terms of the comments and responses. Michael, Amal, and Ken and Victoria, thanks for all coming on. Hopefully you're having a great morning. Tony Gallagher says, breakfast and coffee with Luke and Tony.
There you go.
Might be too long. We need impact, right? Impact.
You can say coffee. That could be okay. Breakfast. That could be okay. But yeah, I do like the in bed with, but nonetheless,
I do too. I love it. I actually love it. I think it's a little bit risque. It's very much us, really, isn't it?
Yeah, particularly as it gets colder, right? So people are less inclined. I know we've got some early risers already, but there'll be plenty of people who are tucked up under the doona. And anyway, we'd love to be there with you.
Literally.
Okay. I'm freezing, by the way, where I am.
Yeah, I know. You should be under the doona. Maybe we should do one under the doona.
We should do. Be a whole lot warmer.
Julian's also come on. Tony says, ha, ha, ha. Yes, it is. Absolutely. I think everyone's loving the comments there about under the doona. Really interesting about, you know, when you see those the doubters, the haters, those trolls that come through. I actually get to a point, Tony, where I'm actually feeding some of that information back into me, and maybe I can bring a post or content out there on the back of that. So I use it as content sometimes too. Every action, every reaction to things, every responses, every conversation I have provides me with the next content to what I put out there in terms of mindset, in terms of property. So it is really interesting for me to actually have the variety of responses that do come through, because it actually feeds more of the information that I can put out there that might help me to practice that whole dealing with any trolls, doubters, or so forth, but also then helping other people realize about some of the things that we're all going through.
But it's also helpful to have a different perspective. So this is why we have debates. This is why we have conversations. This is why, you know, we sometimes have arguments, you know, because we don't always agree, and that's okay. And that's one of the beautiful things about growth, about life, is that you're not always going to agree. And in fact, that's where you learn. If you're sort of so narrow-minded and saying, you know, my way is the only way, well, you're not going to get very far. But if you go in with a view, I've gone in with a view plenty of times, and I've had other people change my view on different things, provide different information that I hadn't considered. And I think that's terrific, you know, and I don't think there's anything wrong if you're changing your view. I think what's worse is if you dig your heels in and say, well, that's it, you know, this is the only way, as opposed to going, well, terrific, I had this thought, but you provided me a different perspective. Hey, thanks.
Yeah, I think it's about being open really to anything. And sometimes it is good for me to just throw out some, you know, random thoughts that are coming through my mind, and to allow people to go, you know, I actually think you're wrong there, Luke. And, or how about you think about it in this way? And it makes me, it does make me sit back and think. So inadvertently, I actually just put out whatever comes through, and it might be something that I haven't really thought about intensely to say, is that right or wrong? But the more I throw it out there, the more I'm going to get back, because I know that people, you know, especially on Facebook, and the amount that I post and comment on, and the interactions that happen these days is very powerful for me. So if at times I'm on my own and thinking my own thoughts, best way to do it is put it on social media, and you're going to get the reflection back, aren't you?
Yeah, great. Yeah, absolutely. And you're going to get some of those people that support whatever you're saying, and you're going to get those people who disagree, and those who disagree, that's okay. Like, that's okay. You people are allowed to disagree. It's about free speech, different opinions, and again, I think that's what helps progress ideas forward, because quite often you'll be coming at it from a particular angle and you wouldn't have considered some other aspects. And so it's great to have someone to provide additional perspectives to go, you know what, okay, and perhaps there's something that I've done and maybe I'm not aware of it, you know, and it's great that people say, hey, listen, you're a little bit like this, or you act a little like that, or I don't really agree with that comment. Great, let's have a chat about it.
Do you warm up while you do your hand movements around, Tony? It's kind of like a bit of a yoga thing, or like Tai Chi?
I'm absolutely freezing, Luke. So I'm absolutely freezing. So that's why. So I might even get into a few of these.
Mate.
Hey,
Star jumps, I love it. Craig Christie's come on and said, hey guys, good to see you on, Craig. Ken Murray says, still under the doona, considering getting up to start my day. So Ken and his cones are not active as yet. It's more of a, you know, maybe a little bit warmer, like as opposed to what you're experiencing there today, Tony, in Brisbane.
Absolutely. Well, Ken, good. So we've got one. So it's under the doona with Luke and Tony. Terrific. We've finally got one. I was worried that we had everyone, all these early birds.
I've got another one. We've got another one. Julian's come in about, he goes, between the sheets with Luke and Tony.
Yes. Julian, I love it.
Hey, it's getting a bit more risque.
See, this is why Julian's the, you know, in the marketing side.
He's the marketing extraordinaire.
Right? He's got all these great ideas. Good on you.
Between the sheets, he might come up with some of that marketing promo for us for next week. We'll see how we go with that.
Beautiful, very good.
You know, something really interesting that I found as well. You know, we all comment on social media posts, and this is for anyone who is listening and watching here. It's easy to be critical on the individual words that we say, but it was interesting to hear some of the posts and whatever. And I know that people can be very critical of a Tony Robbins or Gary Vee on one thing they do, right? They might say, well, I don't think that's the case, but the whole thing is that people go in with the one comment or the one notion about what they say or do, or, you know, be critical of that one aspect. Yeah, he's very good, but he's very good, but now if you find yourself doing that, I would suggest be very careful on that idea, because I think about when you do a video, when someone does a Facebook Live, whatever, think about their intention that they're giving overall. Yes, they might fumble on their words. They might have a different angle from what you're doing, but think about the intention. The intention is where it comes from. You know, the words can be mismatched at different times, or they might be in the realm of going through something in my mind and might cross over different ideas and thoughts, but might be well articulated at the time. But think about their intention. What are they trying to get? The message, what overriding message are they trying to deliver?
Oh, I would say get out of the cheap seats. Honestly, you know, every one of us is going to make mistakes. You know, and so if you're the sort of person who's sitting there criticizing, throwing stones, then I would encourage you to grab a mirror and reflect it on your own life, because we all make mistakes. I make an enormous number of mistakes. I've probably made 20 in the last 20 minutes, just in the way in which I articulate, maybe ums and whatever it is, right? And I don't really care for it too much, because I'm out here doing my thing, you know, wanting to help people. I know what my intention is, and you know, and I don't know what Gary Vee or Tony Robbins' intention is. I can only but guess, having listened to both of them for a long time. But we're all human, and we're all make mistakes, and you know, people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones.
Yeah, and I was doing that action before,
Yeah, correct.
And that's what it's all about. So I think, you know, for everyone's coming on, think about people's intention about why they're doing things, rather than shoot them down for one word or one slip of the tongue, whatever it might be. So I think that's a really good thing about when you're watching content on social media. What are the intentions of the individuals sending out that message? Adrian, Johnny, good to have you on. Craig says, my first watch, you two are pretty entertaining. Well, maybe a little bit of a comedy show. Between the sheets, have some fun with Luke and Tony.
Craig, where have you been? We've been doing this how many times, Luke? What?
I know. 40, I think Craig's 40, just discovered 48. Me, but I don't. Do you know Craig at all, Tony?
Craig Christie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know him incredibly well. Yeah, okay. Wonderful man. Wonderful man. So,
well, I think he's only discovered me, and we've had a bit of a chat about different things. So
yeah, great. Really great town planner and an all-round great human as well. So he created a program a long time ago, actually, called Thought Mastery, and I was fortunate enough to be one of his first students, and then went on to share the stage with him. And a wonderful man.
Yeah, he's doing some good stuff. So, yeah. And he's been highly successful in the town planning space.
That sure has. Yeah, absolutely.
For what he tells me. So,
yeah, absolutely. So just thinking back to what you were saying before, there was a saying that I grew up with, which was what Peter says about Paul says more about Peter than it does about Paul. I'm not sure if you've heard of that or not, but it was all around the fact that I think it's got some religious overtones, but nonetheless, it's all around the fact that what people are saying about others says more about that individual than it does about the person that they're saying it about. So why that person who is ignoring all the 99% of things that are great and focusing in on that 1%, that says a lot more about that individual than it does about the person that they're talking about. So
I think I put a post up about it the other day. It was right. It was Duncan Buchanan, actually. Shout out to him. He said, your perception of me is a reflection of you. My reaction to you is an awareness of me. So it's exactly what you said, just in a different way. So
yep.
That Perfect. Can be really. Sorry, Tony.
Oh, it's a self-awareness thing, right? It's all about self-awareness. If you find that that's where you're at, if you find that you're being overly critical of certain people, just take stock of that, and you know, have a think about what's going on in your life. Why is it that you're doing that? You know, why are you focusing on all the negative?
Why are you being a troll? Why are you being a doubter? Why are you being a hater? Why aren't you looking at the intentions and the big picture of what people's message is getting out there?
Well, a lot of it is reflecting their own insecurities onto other people. That's a lot of it. A lot of it is, I'm not having this. So we're a herd mentality, right? And so when someone starts to break away from the herd, we don't want them to break away from the herd. We want them to stay with us. We don't want those people to go on and be successful, because it's now going to expose our insecurities. It's going to, they're going to leave me behind because they've decided to do their own thing. And I'm worried about that. And I'm going to bring them down at all costs. And it happens time and time and time again. So it doesn't have to be a troll as in social media. It can be, in a lot of cases, those who love you and are closest to you, being your family and friends.
That's the next point. That's the next point. You're straight into it.
Oh.
He's like he's got vision into the future. I guess it's about things like, leaving your 9-to-5 job. So something both Tony and I experienced, and we had our doubters during that time, both of us. We've talked about this before. Greg says, correct, Tony. We've had also Amanda and Guldip who have both come on. Sean says, yes, a lot to do with insecurities. So what you were talking about, their own individual insecurities. Tony Gallagher says, yes, I agree with that, Tony. I have learnt the thing we most comment on about from another person is what we need to reflect on in ourselves. So really good to say that. Christine, also good for you to join.
Terrific. Very good. Good morning. Good morning. For those who don't know, so I was having this conversation earlier this week actually with someone. I gave up drinking 3.5 years ago. Now, if ever you want to put yourself through dealing with the criticism from other people, then why don't you stop drinking for a week, maybe even for a month? I know that it hasn't really affected us too much because we haven't been allowed out of late. But when we're allowed back out, why don't you go and stop drinking for a month and then just see all the reaction of those around you, those who love you, care for you, are closest to you. Now, if you can get through that, which clearly I have because I haven't had a drop for 3.5 years, then you can get through anything. Truly can. I was having that.
What about becoming like a vegan or something like that? And when we've gone, you probably more so like 3 to 5 years ago, if you become a vegan or something like that, and the criticisms you get. And maybe I was like that with other people are vegan. You're just like vegan. Now I did a 3-course degustation menu of broccoli, cabbage, and
we've seen it. We've seen it. The whole world's seen it. Absolutely.
And the amount of people like, where's the protein, Mum? Even my mother, she's on here watching right now, and I love it to bits. But there's no but. I love it to bits. And she just said, put some meat in there. Like it's the old age thought process on what you're supposed to do.
Well, it's also a case of people aren't aware that there's other sources of protein that aren't involved in beef, or chicken. So I don't eat meat either, right? So I've gone they're not drinking, they're not eating meat. So I've copped it from all angles. But again, if you want to build your resilience and learn how to deal with the criticism from other people, then I encourage you to do those. Give up drinking for a month or give up eating meat for a month and just see all the reactions. And I know that people say it because they care. Obviously, your mum cares about you greatly, and she's got her paradigms, as to a lot of people around. You need to have the meat and 3 veg type scenario. But there's different ways of thinking. Now, again, it's a good example. If you go back 3 years, you were a bit critical of people who, veganism and whatnot. But you've now become more educated in certain facets, and hence to the point where you're now, not fully vegan, I don't think, mate, but you certainly have introduced a lot more vegetables into your diet.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got Mark Novak coming on. This is a Sunday mindset session, or unofficially known as In Bed with Luke and Tony, or Between the Sheets with Luke and Tony.
That's it. You got it.
We imagine some people are still in bed right now. And Sean believes that broccoli has more protein than meat. I have no idea about that one. So he might be able to inform us or provide some further information and clarification around that. Any ideas, Tony?
I'm not sure it does. Although Sean, I'm happy to be stood corrected. I know it's got a lot of protein.
I thought it was more the fiber side of things. And anyway, I don't know. We're not going to have a health debate on here.
Welcome to Sunday. We're just waking up. This is nutritional hour with Luke.
Yeah.
we're dissecting all sorts of foods and your culinary delights on a Sunday morning.
Christine, you know, we're on the food theme at the moment. Christine, I'm enjoying eating greens and meat. So
Good.
I wonder if everyone's at the cafes at the moment. You know, Tony Gallagher was saying about having coffee and breakfast. We are minimizing or reducing our restrictions out there. People are in cafes. They're doing their thing right now. So hopefully everyone's enjoying their experience. The second point I'll talk about is what experience do they have with the advice? Is the people, those trolls or doubters or haters or whoever they might be. And secondly, what Tony already mentioned about is it may come from those that are closest to you. So I know when I left my 9-to-5 job, there was, you know, people closest to me that thought, well, what are you going to do if it doesn't work? And it's all those risky questions and all those different things, but their intent is about safety rather than adventure and exploring and, you know, trying things out and really following your passions and so forth. So thoughts on that one, Tony?
Well, I think that's sort of a question. What are you going to do if it doesn't work? I think that they're okay. I don't get too bothered by those sorts of questions because it's good to get people to think about it. Sometimes people will only be narrow-minded about what they want. So,
Tony, I think it's good. I think what you said is a really good point, is because then it actually solidifies information in your own head to say, yeah, well, if it doesn't work out, no, it's not going to work out. It is going to work out. It's
can be that
going to work out.
Yeah, it can be that.
Thank you for asking me that question.
It could also be a case of think about it, but then tuck it in the top drawer, right? So it's like, okay, well, if it doesn't work out, you know what the thing is? I'll go and get another job, right? So if it doesn't work out, that's about as much thought as I'm going to give to it. Now I'm going to put that in the top drawer. I remember when I had my ice cream cafe a long time ago now, back in 2004 and 5, and I got those questions and I actually talked myself into failure when I look back on reflection, because I kept saying to people, if it doesn't work out, I'll get another job. If it doesn't work out, I'll get another job. And what I didn't realize back then, which is what I know now, is that thoughts become things. And I kept saying this over and over and over and over to the point where I talked myself out of success. And we lost $100,000 in 9 months during that venture. So it was interesting at the time. And so now what I've learned is that by all means, there's nothing wrong with having that plan B, but don't fixate on it. Have your plan B, tuck it in the top drawer. And it doesn't have to be literally, obviously, but just tuck it in your top drawer. Now focus on plan A, and just always thoughts become things, or you become what you think about. So always thinking about, the direction that you want to head or what you want to achieve.
I guess I was thinking the same thing. And when people were asking that question, it was like, what is my plan B? And I was like, there's no plan B. There was like no focus. I like you said, there was kind of like, okay, something out there. I could go back to strata management. It's like I could, but I'm not even really focused on that. I'm like, I could be a strata manager again. There will be opportunities for me, but I'm not even considering that as a viable option. Like it's not even plan Z. It doesn't even sit anywhere in a plan.
Correct. Yeah,
this
correct.
is going to work. I was so focused. It's like, this is going to work. Like there was no option.
But that's why it did work. So Tony Robbins talks about when you want to take the island, you burn the boats, right? And so there's only one of two things will happen. Either A, you'll die, or B, you'll take the island, right? And that's what he talks about. And so the same, when people must do something, right, then they will achieve it. The problem is that people don't have the absolute belief, right? I know that's one of the other things we want to talk about today, but the absolute belief that they're going to be successful. And when you don't believe it, then you're not going to be successful. And it's not at a conscious level, right? Because people can believe it at a conscious level. It's at a subconscious level. That's where the magic is. And if you don't truly believe it with every inch of your being at a subconscious level, then it is never going to happen.
Greg,
and so it sounds like
Tony, are you prepared to take 1 month off ice cream?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not, Greg. No, I can't do it. No, I can't. You know why? Because I've given up so many other things. And so no, I won't be giving up 1 month of ice cream. But
that is the question of the year. Oh, yes. Greg, you nailed it.
There you go. And the answer is no, it's not happening. So
nailed it. Marcel, good to have you on.
And
David, Tony, he's got to get in the word now, but I'm not going to let him. David says, do you think criticism
I'm
is
just going to go and have some ice cream.
Do you think criticism is an addiction, says David. He asks, some people just love to go against others. The Q&A program on TV has many. You know what? You just got to get away from it, David, if that's the case. Like, maybe it is for someone, but why do you want to be around it all the time? Like, move away.
Yeah, so it's habitual, right? In a lot of cases, it's habitual. People are doing this on default. Why? Because they've always done it. Perhaps they've been brought up in a household where criticism has been accepted. Misery loves company. All these types of things. So for a lot of people, yes, they do it without even thinking. Because they're operating from their subconscious. They're operating from their autopilot. But you're right, Luke. You either deal with that or remove yourself. Right, and so that you've got to make some choices, David. If people around you criticising, bring you down, then they're not the right people, And Jim Rohn talked famously that you are the average of your 5 closest people. Now, my personal view is it's broader than that, but nonetheless, the concept is that the people who are around you, who you're associating with, who you're listening to, who you're speaking to, they are going to form your attitudes, your opinions, your beliefs, etc. And so if you're around negative people, then through that process alone, you will start to take on some of their traits. And conversely, when you spend time with positive people, you will start to take on those traits. Now, I know what I would prefer each and every one of you to be doing, and that's the latter. That is, find people who lift you up, who inspire you, who support you, who encourage you, as opposed to those who are out there bring you down. You all have a choice. A lot of us are too afraid to make that choice. That's the issue.
Well, this is why Tony and I do these sessions on a Sunday, to really lift up each other and then lift up other people as well. So
you guys who are watching from under the doona, this all started with us wanting to give back and help other people and give some perspective, give some different ideas. Doesn't mean for a moment that Luke and I are right. It's our opinions, and we're always happy to take on different bits of feedback.
What do you mean? Aren't we always right?
Oh, sorry, I've gone off script.
Yeah, totally. Ken says, I dislike people who give up ice creams. Ha ha ha. Ken's one of your buddies.
Ken, you, I can just see you and I under the doona having an ice cream. Magnificent, Ken.
Oh,
I love a good ice cream.
Ken says, dislike is the wrong word. Disappointed. Ha ha. I don't want it to catch on. Yeah, okay, so yeah, dislike. So yeah, terminology is a strong point. We always talk about that. Sure, Tony, let's get on to the third point, around, you touched on this a little bit, it's about self-awareness.
Yes.
Are you inspired and motivated to prove them wrong, or do you need to focus on the successful people and get influence from them? The reason why I bring this one up is watching Michael Jordan and his series. The amount of times that he got knocked, was trash talked by other players, by coaches. People didn't respect him, or they tried to put him in the wrong, just do the wrong thing by him. He used that as strong motivation. And the amount of times that the next game or the next year, he used that to drive him to another level. Like he'd score 12 points one game, then people would put him down in the media or in other players, or try and trash talk him. Next game, he'd come out and score 50 points.
Yeah, correct. Amazing.
The guy is, I'm watching this series. It's just like, I think it's like the best thing I've ever watched on TV.
No, I've watched it as well, mate. It's great. It's a great series. What I'll say to that is use whatever you can. Right, so use whatever you can to motivate you. The only thing I'd say to that is that I don't believe that it's necessarily long term. That is, if you're using that anger, right, that anger of I'm going to stick it to you, or I'm going to prove you wrong. My own opinion is I don't believe that it's long term. Again, it's about focus on what it is that you want. I'm a firm believer in that. Thoughts become things. Always focus. When you drive a car, where do you look? You look out the front windscreen in the direction of your travel. If you're going to go and look over the side here and I'm going to stick it to that person and whatnot, yes, I get it on a short-term basis, absolutely, and I've used it myself. But from a longer term perspective, I'd encourage everybody to get back to focusing on the thing that they actually want.
Greg, good to have you on. Great series, Michael Jordan series. Says Chris.
Sure is. Yeah.
What about Julian's comment? In the hot tub with Ken and Tony. Ice cream emoji.
Oh, fantastic. Julian. Again, Julian, I say what I did half an hour ago. This is why you're the marketing genius. Fantastic.
Imagine that. The reason he says that, Ken's got a bit of a hot tub action after a full days of ice cream giving. And I know he's sending out the ice creams. I don't know if it was today or yesterday. He's doing an estate of giving out free ice creams where he's going 50-50 with the estate owner, and they're giving out ice creams, which is fantastic.
Ken's not in Brisbane, is he?
No, he's down in the south coast of New South Wales.
Because we've got restrictions have been lifted. We can drive 150 k's, so but it's a little bit outside of my restrictions, and plus it's interstate. So there you go. I can't do it.
Yeah.
When the borders are the restrictions are lifted, Ken. When I'm next in Sydney, we'll.
He's going to go all the way down there just for an ice cream.
Just for an ice cream.
That's fabulous. What would you do to get an ice cream?
Sorry, what was the question?
What would you do? What would you do to get an ice cream? What kind of sacrifices would you make?
Well, put your suggestions up because I love ice cream.
How far would you drive to get an ice cream?
I'm prepared to drive to the south coast of New South Wales.
Yeah, I know. Kind of crazy. I guess there's a standpoint of us being, thinking about the inspire or motivation like Michael Jordan did in terms of the influence that he got from other people when they didn't, respect or, acknowledge him or other areas where he lifted to that next level. So that worked for him. But for others, they're really going to be affected by that. They're going to be affected by someone, really putting them down, being a troll, being a doubter. So they've got to think about it in a little bit different way. Maybe then if you get that haters on one side, you've just got to think about where you can get to another side where you go, okay, who can I actually be inspired by on a successful nature and actually get rid of those thoughts. Like you said, thoughts become things, Tony. Get rid of those thoughts and focus more of your attention on the people that are successful. And it's like, what is Michael Jordan all about? The drive, the determination, the hard work. If he's had a bad season, he's back in training on day one. He doesn't have a break in between. He's back on training on day one. So it's awesome.
Well, it goes back to the point I made earlier, Luke, around the average of those 5 closest people. And so seek them out. Seek and you shall find. If you want to find, and just take the coronavirus, for example. If you want to find negativity about the coronavirus, you will find it everywhere, right? Conversely, if you want to find positivity around the coronavirus and what people are doing to deal with it and constantly move forward, that's everywhere as well. So seek and you shall find. I talk about it regularly. We have a biological part of our stem of our brain, which is the reticular activating system, which filters out all the things that the brain thinks we don't want to see. And so when you're seeking out negativity, all of a sudden, negativity will appear everywhere, right? And that's where your RAS is in effect. Conversely, when you're seeking out positivity, optimism, and opportunity, you're going to see that everywhere, right? And so if you're seeing negativity, I would encourage you to stop and think about, well, what is it that I'm doing to seek out negativity and to see negativity? And I need to change my perspective. I need to change my what I'm focusing on, because there's an enormous amount of positivity out there as well. And that applies to everything. And the simplest example is the glass half full, glass empty. It's been around for many, many years. And it's like, do you see the world as half empty, which is pessimism, or as half full, which is optimism? And so how do you see the same object, the same glass, same amount of water? Two people see it very differently.
Greg says, I like to listen to Dickie Fox. If the heart is empty, the head doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, and that's so absolutely, because it all starts with purpose, right? So it all starts with your purpose. This whole thing, right? I was doing a number of sessions earlier this week, and people have gone off track, right, with their goals. Well, they've lost sight of why they started in the first place, right? And it starts with, when your why is not a monetary why, it's an internal why. It's what fills you up. right? And so it's about getting really deeply connected to why is it that you're starting in the first place, and then you ask that question 4 or 5 times, right? And so you say, why is that the case? Why is that the case? Why is that the case? Then you're gonna uncover what your why is, and then it's about reminding yourself what your goals are. But absolutely, it starts with your heart. It starts with, and that's why people decide to leave their day jobs. And I'll just go back to that, Luke, because people are following their passions. They're following their heart. Society says, stay in a job, pay your taxes, retire at 65, and live a good life. Entrepreneurs say, I'm following my passion, I'm following my heart, I'm following my dreams, I'm ignoring the doubters, the haters, those who don't believe in me, because I believe in me and I'm heading in this particular direction.
Looks like you're getting a call coming through. David says, I am working hard to move from negative to positive environment, Tony.
Well, that's good. Well, David, I would just encourage you to keep going. I think congratulations if you're working hard. I would challenge yourself on what else could you be doing. But that's good. If you're making that choice, David, then all power to you. Absolutely. Progress beats perfection.
It's funny. I think I got one of the trolls come back, so it's kind of appropriate. So they said, strip boys, strip down.
Well, I won't be doing that now. What, in regards to ice cream? Or
no, there's actually a troll on right now.
Oh, okay.
Great. Yeah, very appropriate.
Well, I'm too cold.
Yeah,
I'm too cold. I need clothing on.
Absolutely. Barrage, Dom and Kat have also come on as well. It's really appropriate, but we did get a troll towards the end of this video, since we are talking about trolls, haters, doubters. It is an important one. So very funny that has all come out that way. Ken says retirement is overrated. Good words, David. So he likes that whole thing about negative, changing from negative to positive, which is really good. Any final thoughts, Tony, Meredith, in terms of these trolls, haters, doubters, what's going on, how we can deal with it? We obviously spoke about the whole thing about self-awareness, what experience that others have in terms of when they're giving those advice, remember that. And then, those that are closest to you in terms of, you might be the ones that actually are always, might be putting you down and might be one of your trolls, one of your doubters in your life. And,
sure.
It is also about, do you listen to them and do you dwell on words, those words, and actually take it in and then, think about it for a day or a week or a month, and that stays with you.
Yeah, well, I've got one final point. I've got way too many, but I'll just give you one, and that is control what you can control, right? So can you control what someone says about you, how someone acts towards you? The answer is no, you can't. You can't. You can only control you, your thoughts, your behaviors, your actions, how you perceive things, etc. So focus on that. If you're worried about what other people are saying, you're expending your energy on things that you have zero control over. Right now, it's easy for me to say this, and it takes years to do this, but you have to start. You have to recognize someone, you don't know what's going on in their life. Maybe they're having a shit day. Maybe they haven't eaten ice cream for a month and they're feeling a bit grumpy and they're lashing out, right? So, but maybe right? So maybe it's not that, right? But maybe you don't know what's going on in their world right now. And there's one comment, and also the thing is, right, with words, is that words can be interpreted in 97 different ways, right? And so it's some words on a page, it's come through. But the other thing is, what does it really matter? Because you can't control that. You can only control how you respond to it, how you deal with it, whether you ignore it, take it on, take the feedback. Okay, it's interesting, move forward, but control what you can control.
Yeah, a little story to finish up from me. I remember when I first came on to do videos on Facebook Live that pretty early on in the piece, it said, someone actually wrote on my post saying, how can you actually stand up in front of an audience to do a seminar when you can't even put 2 words together on a video like this?
Sure.
So that did at the time, and it was really interesting how I dealt with it, because it was actually, my mind changed in about 3 seconds. So instead of all that anger came about in the first 3 seconds, then I said, well, what if they're right? What what if they don't know me and they've got other shit going on in their life? There was so many what ifs. And then I was like, well, maybe I can just use this to keep going and press forward, move forward 4 years on. And now I think I've done 30 interviews with people on Facebook in probably the last 8 weeks. So it's been phenomenal, the amount of work that has been done now. And I could have stopped back then, Tony. I could have just said, no more. Like, it's affecting me. And I'm taking on that troll or that doubter that's there. But no, I push forward.
And a lot of people do stop. And it goes back to one of the very first things out of my mouth this morning, which is the single biggest fear that we all have, is the fear of being criticised by other people. And the majority of people will see that comment and they will stop and they will go, maybe they're right. As opposed to, you've said, okay, well, because you can look at it you can look at it many ways, right? But one is, hey, maybe they're right, maybe I'm not good enough, and I'll sit back down and I'm going to leave this to someone else. Alternatively, you can say, you know what, maybe they've got there's some merit in that, and what can I do to improve, and how can I be better, so then I am able to do the things that I know that I want to do. And here's the thing, I want to do this thing because my heart is screaming out to me, this is my thing, right? I'll give you another saying, which is, may your shoes follow your heart, right? So may you walk in the direction where your heart wants to take you, right? Because your heart truly knows. You truly know. I'm not just saying you, I'm saying everyone. You truly know what it is that you want to do, how you want to be spending your life, right? When you stop and are with yourself, with your own thoughts, you truly know. It's now about the courage to take that first step towards bringing that to life. Because here's the biggest thing that I know is that the majority of people will finish their life with enormous regret because they didn't do the thing that they wanted to do. Their heart knew what it wanted to do, but they didn't have the courage to take that first step. They didn't have the courage to walk through those sorts of comments. That's what stopped them. And they're going to get to the end of their life, unfortunately, and they're going to be filled with enormous regret. And I hope that's no one here on this particular program.
Yeah, Christian says, totally agree with Tony when you said about control what you can control about yourself. Kat says, morning, happy Sunday. Come on a little late this morning. Thanks for the positivity. Awesome. Thanks, Kat. Ken says, smashing the interviews. Yes, I am. Stephen Killar says, morning, Tony. So,
g'day, mate. How are you? Happy birthday for yesterday. So, Stephen, good mate of mine. Hope you had a good day yesterday.
Awesome. Luke, your interviews are excellent and entertaining and informative. Keep going. Thanks, Christine. Tony, Luke, because of your growth, you are helping us grow, and for that, I am grateful. Awesome. Good to hear.
Thank you. Thank you. Can I also say, thank you, Tony. I appreciate those words. Can I also say, Luke, you have...
He said it to Luke, not to Tony.
I'm just saying thank you on your behalf. So he's... but go back, right? Let's talk about the videos. You shared, and I've talked about this a few times, I don't know, a couple of months ago now, one of your original videos from 3 years ago, and where you were. And for those who are interested, you can go to my YouTube page and you can see my very first video. It's a shocker, right? And Luke's video from a few years ago is nothing like where he is today. He was all over the shop, right? And respectfully, and I say that respectfully to you, and so is mine, right? But here's the thing. Progress beats perfection. Take some action. Small steps, small steps, small steps, 3 years. And that's the beautiful thing about videos, right? Is that it's all recorded now. And so you can go back and go, wow, look at the growth that I've had. I had the courage to start that one thing 3 years ago. And I just took small steps, small steps, small steps, chipped away, kept going, perseverance, commitment. And here I am 3 years later. And now I'm doing 30 interviews in 8 weeks, blah, 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 all the things that you're doing, right? But you just had the courage to keep going, but you had originally the courage to start.
We've had Adam just come on as well, and maybe a final comment. It's very similar to my story, but Ken Cones has said, I had a mate I've known for 40 years. He said I shouldn't do any live videos or posts because I wasn't good at it. How do you get better if you don't continue? I stopped because he may have been right. Now I say, fuck it.
So Ken, let's talk, because I know you and I are going to share a hot tub filled with ice cream. So let's talk directly for you. What you can do is you can you can just, you don't have to do Facebook live videos, right? So I say to people, start with just doing video, right? Start with a video on your own phone if you'd like to, and that way then you can look at it, you can critique yourself. Got to get used to your own voice. Clearly I have with mine, but you've got to start by doing it privately. And then at some stage you release it, and you don't have to do a live one first up. You could just post a video that you pre-recorded, right? And so you're inching your way towards, and then you're going to get to a stage when you do a live video. And the thing with live video is, reason why people struggle with it is because it's all inward focused. That is, how do I look? How do I sound? I hope I said the right thing. I hope I don't look like a dickhead. Well, goodness me, we've just carried on for the last hour. I've been in and out of hot tubs and under doonas and whatever, you know. And so it doesn't really matter when you flip the focus from on yourself to outward. And that is, we all sit on a mountain load of information, right? Whether you've got an ice cream cone business like Ken does, or a buyer's agent, or whatever your business or your job is, it doesn't really matter. You have wealth of experience. Someone else in the world would get great value from what you want to share. And so when you focus outwardly, that is, I'm thinking about the person I'm helping, as opposed to I'm worried about my hair, I'm worried about how I sound, I'm worried about how I look, then all of a sudden, this is like a chat, right? Well, it's you and me having a chat. It just so happens that there's others who are dialing in on our chat, but it's just like we're just having a chat on a Sunday morning.
All right, well, we've got to wrap it up for today.
I've got to wrap it up. Okay.
Another video that I'm doing afterwards talking about rugby league, and that's going to be an interesting one. They've got a lot of haters and doubters at the moment, a lot of trolls around that. So something that we might be able to focus on in that, brings some mindset to that session as well. So guys, have a great day. Maybe we'll have do another video one day, says Kat, about Tony. So Kat, be interested in that. Tony, thank you.
Mate. Thank you.
Great session.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for coming on as well. Love it.
Happy Sunday. Bye.
Have a great Sunday.